introduction into Blender. Blender is a 3D software. If you've missed part 1, please go to YouTube and type in Dao Ashe Blender sessions part 1. You should find it there, or alternatively you can message Pamela or visit the Discord, and you should see some links in one of the Discord channels there. So last time we went over the basics of navigation, the meaning of and some of the use cases for some of these settings, like the move, the rotate, and the transform. So I'll just go over a brief overview of something similar that we done last time. So what we done, we went over, how to move an object freely like this, how to move an object on the x-axis, on the y-axis, on the z-axis. We even got into how to edit objects. So we talked about some of the shortcuts. So if you press tab, we come into edit mode, and then we clicked on, I explained like the faces, the edges, and the vertices, and we created a cup, and we created like a TV looking shape. And so this time in this session, I'm going to go over some of the things that I missed out in the last session, and that's to do with this area here. I never really went into depth. I touched on it a little bit when we was going through the materials, but I'm gonna go from top to bottom to give a loose, not in depth, because some of these settings are way beyond a beginner introductory session or lesson, so to speak. However, so let me just look at my notes here, just bear with me for 1 minute. So yes, we're gonna get into render settings. So what do I mean by render? To put it in layman's terms, once you've created your scene. So I'm just gonna make some shapes here. Where's the torus? Here we go. Let's duplicate. So yeah, once we have our scene, whatever you want to create, we now want to let's say, quote unquote, take a picture of it, so that we can actually produce images and things like that from Blender itself. Last lesson I went over, if you click on view, hold on, to get this menu here, if it's hidden for you, click on N, it should bring up this menu, click on view, and then click on this camera view, and you should be able to move the camera how you want it. Now usually once we get into a position that we like, and let's press 0 again to come out this and move some shapes a bit forward. Press 0 to go back to the camera view. Yes, this is our scene, and we can move stuff in here. I'm just being, sorry, this is just a bit of my, not perfectionist, but yeah, I don't like to leave things a bit rough. So yeah, once we have our all our objects which we want to take a picture of, as I'll say in layman's terms, or render, as the 3D community call it. Yeah, once we want to render what we have here, we need to come and have a look at some of these settings. Now, if you click on this, actually, I'm not sure if you can see this very good, so let me, it might be a bit too small for you, so let me make it bigger. Hopefully you should be able to see this a bit better now. Yeah. So, as you can see on the right hand side here, you should see this render tab. And this render tab is where you're going to come and have the settings for what you're going to be rendering. So, you have two render engines. By default, you have one called Eevee. Now Eevee is not very realistic. It's more for if you want to have that game type feel to whatever you're creating. So I'll show you. Pardon me. So if you look at the top right hand corner, you have these 4 circles. These 4 circles are quite important actually, because it allows you to view the same viewport in different ways. Usually this one, the viewport shading, is where you will come here, and whatever render engine you chose here would show up in this viewport, and you'll get what I'm saying once we get along. So as you can see, for now you can't see anything within our scene because we haven't added a light. So if we press Shift A, remember from last lesson, Shift A is a shortcut to add things. Alternatively, you can look up here and click add, but shortcuts are a lot faster and gives a smoother workflow. So we press Shift A and then come to light. You have different types of light. You have a point light, a sun, a spotlight, and an area light. Hello? Can you hear me? I'm not sure if that was just bear with me for 1 minute. You don't see the whole Blender window. Oh. Let me have a look at this. Hold on. Let me play with this a little bit more. Just bear with me for 1 moment so that I can actually so that you guys can see everything. I didn't know. I'll start from the beginning again, if that makes sense. There you go, and I can move this down here so that you can see everything per se. All right. So I'll start again since you didn't see since you weren't able to see all of my screen. So actually I won't start again. I'll actually carry on, but I'll go through as long as you can see the right hand of my screen. You should see the render settings, which I was referring to, which is this tab called render on the right hand side here. You've got different render engines for different things. Hello?
Joseph?
Yep.
We don't, you have to click on cut so that we see the new composition of OBS.
You should see everything now. Yeah, you should see everything now. Yeah, you should see everything now. Okay, so we'll start again. But so yeah, we have the render settings on the right hand side. It's called is in this TV or camera looking icon. It says render it says render settings. This is quite important. I won't go through everything here, mainly because this is just like a beginner's guide into Blender, but you can get really detailed with things. But yeah, I'll just keep it simple for now. But yeah, as I was saying, Eevee. So Eevee is a render engine which is which is not resource intensive, so it wouldn't use up a lot of memory. So when creating images or even creating animations, which we're going to go like a brief introduction into, when creating animations or when creating still images, most laptops or most PC setups should be able to handle and render and create images and animations pretty fast. Cycles is a bit different, mainly because Cycles gives you a more realistic feel to your renders and to your animations, so it will take longer for you to produce images and videos with Blender. So if you have a computer that has a graphics card, I would advise you would use Cycles. You can use Cycles even if you don't have a graphics card, but it is quite resource intensive. And what I mean by that is that it will take a long time in order to render particular scenes, especially when you have bigger scenes with lighting and things of that nature, and different materials and things of that nature. However, I'm going to go back to Eevee and just show you Eevee. So yeah, we're in Eevee. We're in Eevee mode. As I was saying before, you have these 4 tabs, these 4 circles at the top right hand corner. In order to go from this view, let me go and put it here. So this is what you guys will probably see when you open up Blender. To get to that different color for different objects, you just click on this arrow here, and then click on random, and then that will assign a different color to each individual mesh. Obviously, if you have like hundreds or maybe even thousands of different objects, it's not going to choose a different color, but it just helps you distinguish different objects within your scene. But I'll go to the default, what you guys had before. So yeah, you have these 4 circles here. This one is basically this one is basically the basic view. So this one just allows you to, this was better for editing. It's better if you do any modeling or any changing of your shapes in this view, because it wouldn't be, Blender wouldn't take so long in order to make changes. However, if you're in the viewport shading, which is this, sometimes if you have really complex shapes and meshes, then it could take longer, and similarly for this view. Now, as you can see, you can't see anything within this window. That's because we haven't added a light. All scenes that you're creating need a light. So we're gonna, there's 2 ways to create lighting within your scene. I'm gonna show you the first way, and as I go through these settings, I'll show you another way in order to make a light in your scene. So in order to add a light, you can click Shift A, or you can click on the add button at the top here. And so yeah, you can create different lights. So we have the first light, which is a point light, and let's press G, Z, and move it up here. Let's press this gizmo in order to move it wherever you want to move it. This is a point light, which allows you to, it's more of like a circle circumference type light. You can change the settings of this light with this button here. So one thing to note, when you click on different things, different options come up in this side panel here. So if you want to click on a light, sometimes you may not even find the light here. You can either click it in the viewport here, or you can click it in this list here. So when you click on the light, you should see this bulb, and this allows you to change the properties of the light. I'm not going to go into like a lot of detail in this, but I'm going to just go through the basics. So you can change the color of the light by clicking on this white space here, and you can change the color of the light to whatever you feel, whatever you like. So let's leave it in this, let's say this yellow here. And then you can change how strong the light is. So this is in watts. So you can do 100 watts. You can do 4,000 watts, whatever you like. I'm gonna bring this down to, let's say 20. Actually, you know what? Let's just make it, 20. Let's move to the side here. And then we're gonna add I'm gonna use sunlight last. A point light, this gives you more of a cone type shape to your light. So like if you have any spotlights, or if you're creating a scene with like street lights, this is actually good to use. So for now, for some reason you can't see anything, but let's up the power of this to, let's say 200, and there you go, you got your spotlight. And then also you can change the size of your spotlight by coming to the size down in shape, the spotlight shape, and you can change the size so it has a bigger circumference. And then also you can change the blend, and this is to do with how sharp this edge is here. So if we go all the way down to 1, you can see it's got a really hard cutoff point. And then if you go all the way to, sorry, if you go to 0, it has a sharp edge, and then if you go to 1, it has more of a softer edge. So that's that. And let's move this to the side. And then we have an area light, and this is this light. And to know where your area light is pointing, you see this yellow dot, and with this yellow dot you can point the area light for wherever you want to point it to. I don't really like using that technique. Press Ctrl Z to go back to 0. I don't really like using that technique because sometimes it can get a bit confusing. So I just mainly use this dial in order to change the angle and so forth. And the reason why you can't see anything because the light is a bit weak. So let's change this to 300. And yeah, let's change this to 50. And with this area light, you can change the size, so you can make it a bit more rectangle. You can make it a bigger square so it covers a greater distance, and so forth. And then finally, let me delete these lights. And then finally, you have the sun, and this acts like an actual sunlight. And with this, if you have like a big scene and you want to, have light, just a big light to cover most of your scene or all your scene, you use the sunlight. And you can play and you can create more realistic outdoor lights and shadows. So for example, the sun is pointing down, you can bring it to the side like this, so it looks like there is more like a sunset like a sunset type lighting, and you can move it around to change. And I think you can see here where the sun would be, and yeah, you can change it to whatever angle suits you. So for now, for this I'm just gonna go with let's go with a point light for this actual demonstration. Let's up this to 200. I just want to show you. Just put here, bring the size up like this. Change the color to like a blue. This is so we've got a light in our scene. So now we've got a light in our scene, so we'll just leave it as that for now, because I'm gonna get to rendering in a minute. So if we come back to here, so this is Eevee, and this is how it looks within Eevee. And if I was to render this out, to render an image, you can come to this render, tap up here and click on render image, or you can press F12. So if I click on render, as you can see, it does it within seconds, and this is your scene. Now it's important to note that when you render an image like this, it doesn't automatically get saved to your laptop. You actually have to come in to the top here, go to image, go to save, and then you can save it wherever you want to save it, and then you can open it. I'm going to show you the difference. So that was Eevee. Like I said, it gives you more of a game type feel. even if I was to make some more edits to this, but I'm not gonna bog myself down with that. So speed, let's make this 500, so it's going to be better. Yeah, this is more of like a gaming type feel. You wouldn't get so much detail in this. However, I was to change this to cycles. And then render image. It's telling me it takes a bit double the time. However, you do get a bit more detail when it comes to shadows, and if you was to add in more smooth surfaces, reflections, and things of that nature, and even to do with like mist and things like that, you'll get a more realistic feel when you're in cycles. At the end of this session, I'll probably just change up a few things in this and render in both to EV and cycles for you to see like the actual differences between the two. We don't necessarily no one really uses Workbench, so you don't really need to concentrate on that. That's it. If you come down here and your GPU is grayed out, all you need to do is come to the edit, come to preferences, let's make this a bit bigger, come to system, and if you do have a graphics card, it will show what graphics card you're using. I'm using a Mac, so this is the GPU that I'm using. If you have a Windows PC, whether you have a AMD, whether you have an NVIDIA graphics card, it should come up here. If you don't have a graphics card, then it wouldn't nothing will show up here. I think it might show your CPU, but that's not to worry, because you can still use Blender as fine. But certain things when it comes to rendering, especially in cycles, may take a bit longer than may take a bit longer than usual. Next, we are going to go to output. So let me change this back to EV. So with output, the first we have is resolution. So what it means by resolution is if I go into press 0 to go into camera view, so this looks okay, fine. So yeah, this resolution allows you to change the size of the camera. So for example, different platforms or wherever you want to post your videos or your still photos, this is where you come and change the aspect ratios or the size. So if you want it in an Instagram format, or like this format, which is more I believe this is vertical format, so that it's easier to create reels and social media and things like that, you can do it here. However, you want to make it a bit more cinematic and a bit more rectangle for maybe people that are viewing it on laptop screens, TVs, computers, or whatever the case is, then you come and change it here. The good thing about Blender is that because there is a lot of maths involved, you can actually just type in ×2, and yeah, it does it for you. So yeah, there are a lot of resources online that goes into detail about the benefits of using different aspect ratios. So for example, this aspect ratio, like I said before, benefits more for if you're rendering images or videos on social media like TikTok, like Instagram, like Twitter, and that's mainly for those type of users. And if you want to, like I said before, render make images for more laptop and desktop, then what you need to do is just change the aspect ratio to have a more cinematic view. So yeah, there's loads of resources online that you can dive into with that. I'm gonna skip some of these because that's a bit in depth. Okay, now output. Output is where you are going to actually save your images by default. So if you click on this folder here, you can then navigate to wherever in your computer system where you want your things to be saved. And down here, let's change this now. Yeah, file format. That's it. File format, you can change it to PNG, which is, you know, a photo, JPEG, or whatever you prefer. And then also if you're doing video, you'll come and change it to this. And finally, I'll go through color management. Override. Color management, I think by default, some of these settings are set to, like, you know, standard, and I think there's none. Play around with these depending on the feel that you have for the type of look that you're going for within your renders. So I would say there is no really right answer. It just really depends on what you're doing and why you're doing it, if that makes sense. So that's enough of the output. Next, view layers. This is more of a advanced setting. So for example, when you get into creating more, let's say, environments or indoor scenes, and once you've rendered your scene, you can make additional edits to it, and then there's a tab here called compositing tab, where these ticks will have more of an impact. But for this introduction beginner saying, we're not going to go into that. Scene, again, this is something that I've rarely even touched. I don't touch this at all. The only thing to note about this, I don't even touch anything to do with the scene at all, so you can kind of ignore that. World. Okay, so remember I said there's two ways in order to create light within your world. So for example, you got the background color. As you can see, the background color is here. It's gray, right? So this affects whenever you're rendering as well. So if you want, and you're creating things, and you can make this, you know, light, but I wouldn't advise you to. It is kind of like hold on. Yeah, I never really change it to white because you have this kind of look. I usually change it to black, and as you can see, you get more contrast with regards to your lighting and your shadows, even with regards to like smooth surfaces like this. Also, even if you wanted to change the color of this, so let's bring it back to gray, and then you wanted to change this to, you know, green or whatever the case is, blue, or let's make it red. You can change the strength as well and play around with strength however you see fit. I'm going to change this back to black because I prefer it like this. Collections. Again, don't really need to pay too much attention to this. I really use it myself, so we can kind of ignore it for now. Transform. This is similar to what we went over in the first lesson. So for example, this allows you to make any edits to anything that you've highlighted. So as I said, once you've highlighted, you see this orange outline around the shape. And similar to, I think it was, similar to item, it's practically like the same settings. So, you know, if you wanted to change the location of where something is, you can do. If you wanted to change the rotation of something, you can do. If you wanted to rename it as well, this is another way to rename this is another way to rename your meshes. This is super important, like I said before, with regards to making sure everything is named correctly. You can also put things in. Wait, let me check my notes. You can also put things in collections as well, which makes it easier. So let's do that now. So let's say, for example, we have 3 monkey heads in our scene. like so. And instead of, and we wanted to put them in the collection to make everything a bit more organized and easier. What we can do is we can highlight all three, like so, and you can see everything's highlighted here. And then we can press M, click on new collection, monkey head, and as you can see, it's all in a new collection. Now the advantages of this, and I'm going to go into it a bit more later on as well, but the advantage of this is that let's say, for example, you're working on something, and to make it easier to see or click on another object, let's just make it easier. So it gives you a real world. Let's give you an icosphere. Let's create some different lights so that you can see what I'm doing as well. Yeah. Let's create another one. Just so that. Okay, perfect. So, for example, sometimes if you're working on a scene and you have a lot going on, you have all these lights, and sometimes when you're trying to click on something, and I'm trying to click on this sphere, and I want to get to it and I can't. What you can do is I can, because I'm creating collections, I can actually hide objects, and they won't disappear from the scene. Don't worry, you haven't deleted them. All you're doing is hiding them. So the way that I do it is, once you've created your collection and you've named it, you can click on the collection name and click on this eye, and it will hide your monkey heads. You haven't deleted them, you just literally hidden them, and then you click on this, open this eye back up again, and they appear. So you click on the eye, you click back. You can also hide individual items as well, and also we can hide the cube to get to the sphere, and then we can move the sphere wherever we want to move the sphere. We can do whatever we want to it, and then if we want to bring back that cube, we can come to the eye and click on this cube. Even if, for example, you hide objects within this viewport. So, for example, let's keep that. Let's hide quite a few things. Let's hide these things. Yeah, these are the things that are hidden in the viewport. When you go to render it, they will still appear in the render. So, for example, we're just going to render the scene. And click on render image, and as you can see, everything's still there. Everything's still there, perfectly still there. Now, if you want to, let's bring back. Now, if for example you're testing things and you've put two objects in a scene and you want to render one object but not the other object. So, for example, we have 3 monkey heads, and let's say, for example, we was playing with the position and seeing how the lighting affects the monkey head depending on where it is on this square. If I wanted to only render one of the 3 monkey heads, all I need to do is click on this camera option here. If you don't see this camera option, come to the top right hand corner, click on filter, and click on this camera option here. Well, let me enable this and I'll show you this as well. So this camera option, you can then, if I click this camera option here, and hide it within our viewport so it's not confusing. So now, I've hidden it from the viewport and hidden it from the render, because this camera means if this camera is highlighted white, that means that when you click on render, it will be shown in the render. And so if I go to render the scene now, as you can see, the 2 monkey heads are gone. Alternatively, what you could do depending on, you know, how you're working and if you're playing around with a few things. You can, sometimes this has happened to me and I've gone crazy. So this is something to work, something to keep on the lookout for beginners. Even though you've clicked on the eye and unhidden your mesh or whatever you've created here, and then sometimes you go to, and you can see it in the viewport, and then you click on File, Render Image. You can see that they're not here. So just one thing to keep in mind, that please make sure that this is ticked. Yeah, we don't need to kind of go through any of these because we'll just stick to the basics for now. Okay, modifiers. So, you know what? Let me group these. Put this in a group. Change it to light. Perfect. So one other thing to show you as well is what I ticked in this arrow. So what this is kind of useful for is, for example, we have this scene and I've created 3 lights, but as you can see, sometimes if I want to click on something, I might be clicking on the light instead of me clicking on the Taurus, or me clicking on the monkey head, or me clicking on the floor. Sometimes it can get a bit irritating. So if you disable selection, that means that I can't click on the lights anymore, and I can get on with still clicking anything within my scene. And if I want to make the lights clickable again, just come back here, click on this, and then I can select my lights and then change the position as I see fit. So for the rest of this, pardon me, I'm going to make this deselect so that I can still have the light, I can still see it within my viewport, but I'm not going to accidentally click on it, move it, delete it, and things of that nature. So what we're going to do is I'm going to delete some of these. I'm going to delete these objects because I want to show you something in our next tab. So we have the modifier tab, which is this wrench here. Hold on, let me just bring it in a shape so that you can, there's a better illustration of what I want to do. So we have this monkey head here and this modifier. So you have loads of different modifiers depending on what version of Blender you're using. The older versions of Blender, I think Blender 3.0 up until 4, so not 4, you had like a big list you was able to select, but they've changed it now to look like this. I'm not sure why. I prefer it the old way, but anyways, I digress. So you have different options to do various different things with your object. So I'm going to just go through the basics because we can be here forever going through a lot of them. So sometimes if you have if you want to repeat our object, or if you want to repeat objects or make different copies of it along specific line, you can use what we call the array modifier. You click on array file, and as you can see, we have a duplicate of the monkey head. Now you can change how far away it is on the x-axis. You can change if it goes on the y-axis. You can change if it goes up. And then you can play with the count. So you have 3, 4, 5, as many as you want. And if you move this one, it will move the rest of them as well. Like so. So let's get rid of that modifier. Next, we have the mirror modifier. Where's the mirror modifier? Here we go. Mirror modifier. Let's modify it on the Y. Yes. So this basically, let me just. Perfect. So yeah, this basically mirrors your object. So as you can see, you can have 2 monkey faces on either side. You can stack modifiers as well. So if we go back to the array modifier, and the order of things affects how things look, and I'll show you what I mean. So as you can see, because the mirror modifier is first, you can see that the mirror modifier just is mirroring what's on one side is onto the other side, and then you have the array modifier, which is then making a copy directly next to it, which we kind of went over previously before. Now, if I have to change the order, no, not the order of this one. So, if I wanted to then, why isn't this working? Bear with me for one moment. That's it. Yeah, you know what? If I do this. So yeah, if I was to change the order or something, then sometimes it will have an effect on how it looks. That's for more like complex scenes. Something as simple as this, you won't really get to see it, but I'll show it. I might open up a file that I have saved, and I'll show you what I mean later. Next, we have the particle system. So with this, you can have really cool effects with the particle system. You can create. Let's add a new one. You can create rain and things like that. There's loads of tutorials on YouTube, but I'm just going to show you a brief summary. So if we press, that's it. Sorry, if we press the space bar, and I'll explain the timeline in a bit later on. But yeah, if we press the space bar, if we add a particle system, click on the plus here, you can see we have cool particles. I press the space bar in order to start the animation. And then next, the other one we have is the hair modifier, and you can do really cool things like this. You can create, obviously hair. You can create fur. You can use it for grass, to create grass. This is very versatile. So, and again, YouTube is definitely your best friend in order to create grass, fur, actual hair, and you can customize it as much as you want in some of these more in detailed complex settings. But we're not going to get into that into this tutorial. Let's click here. So next we have So we have the physics tab. This, what I'm going to show you, what can I show you that's quite simple? Okay, yeah, let's do this. So here is where you can create water, you can create smoke, you can get objects to interact with each other, you can create clothes like cloth and things of that nature. So I'm going to quickly create a rigid body. So I'm going to get this sphere to interact with this plane here. So let's click on rigid body. Let's leave this as active. Let's click the floor, click rigid body. Let's change this to passive. And then now, if we press the space bar, as you see, the ball lands on the floor. Now let me go back. If I didn't make the floor a passive item, I click X, the ball will literally fall through the ground into the abyss. Yeah. Until basically this timeline goes back to 1. So yeah, that's that. But I won't get into detail with that. Next, we have the constraints. This basically allows you to place limitations on particular objects, or limitations on particular objects. The easiest way to show you something about constraints is the track 2. And this is what I like to use when creating animation. So, for example, if I had, let's say, my camera, and I went to move around, and I wanted it to move around and focus on this monkey head. As you can see now, whenever I move it, it doesn't always focus on the monkey head. I have to like manually move the camera in order to, you know, track the monkey head. So what you can do with this constraints is you can click on your camera, you can come to constraints, click track 2, and in this track 2 you can then click on this eyedropper tool and select the monkey head, and now whenever I move the camera, it's always gonna center and focus around the monkey head. This is good for if you are creating any product animations, or not even product animations. Let's say you have a scene, and let's say, for example, we have, you know, grass and we have trees and things of that nature, and we wanted to focus on one object within the scene. We can use this track 2 function, and you know, it's just going to focus no matter where we scroll, whether we scroll far, whether we scroll close. You know, we can always track to a particular object that we want. And so let's click out of that. Camera settings. Yeah, like I said, this green icon will always change depending on what you click on in your viewport here, or sometimes in your list here. So for example, you know, if you click this, you know, it's going to bring different settings than if you click on the camera. But just for example, say once we click on the camera, you can change the perspective, you can change how focused your camera is to a particular object when it's focus length. We can click on, you know, depth of field, and then we can so depth of field basically helps bring perspective to some of your renders. So if you want to have it so that the item you want to focus on is really clear, but then the background is really blurry, to create that depth of field look, you come to depth of field, you tick it, and then you use this eyedropper tool, and you click on the object you want to focus on. And if we play with, sorry, let me go back to the camera. Yeah, if we play with this f-stop feature, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but the shadows in the background here become a bit blurry. So depending on, you know, where you want to, you know, place this within your scene, you can create some really cool effects to where, you know, you're only focusing on the monkey head, and you know, the rest of the scene is a bit blurry. Let's come out of here, let's disable that. And then we have the brush. This is not really used by a lot of people, but if you wanted to get into sculpting, because sculpting is something that you can do in Blender. Let's highlight this. Why isn't it? Oh yeah. So yeah, in the sculpting tab, if you come here to object mode and then click on sculpting, this feature allows you to this feature allows you to add particular brushes. So if you want to add, if you wanted to create rocks, you can download and you can download a rock type brush, upload it into here, and then you can start, you know, changing the shape of your actual mesh. And this is pretty cool. You know, you can change the look of your object from a sculpting point of view, and some people create really cool sculptures, but we're not going to get into that in this tutorial. And one more thing, yes, this material. So similarly to what we went through in our last in our last session, you can set different materials for different things. So if we click on new, Yeah, you can change, how metallic it is, and I'll show you that last time, how smooth it can be. Let's shade this smooth. So yeah, how smooth it can be, how rough it can be, how metallic it can be. Something really cool that I'll show you quickly, but this is a bit beyond the scope of what I want to show you. I'm not going to go through all of these because we can kind of be here forever. But if we click on here and then we click on glass, and then we click on, let's see if this actually works. Oh no, we're in cycles, and so we're in Eevee. So I'm not sure that this will work in Eevee, but let's give it a try. I'm not sure that this will work in Eevee. Hold on. And this is basically the difference between Eevee and cycles. And I'll show you right now. Let's make a point light. Let's come out of this view. Let's bring this point light, and let's make this go inside the monkey head. Let's see if you can see anything. Yeah, no, you can't see anything. All right. So remember I said, telling you before about the difference between Eevee and cycles. This is one of the main things. You can get the glass material to work within Eevee, but you are gonna have to play with some more of these complex settings. Let's see. Here we go. I think it's hash brown. It didn't work. Why is it not showing up? Why is the light not showing up? Interesting. But yeah, let's just go to cycles and see if we can see something. As you can see within cycles, I've changed this to a glass material. I'll bring down the roughness. And the light that I placed in the middle. Oh, where's that light? Point like this. Let's make it a bit brown. Let's change the color as well. Yeah, as you can see, I've made this a glass material and I put a point light in the middle, and yeah, you can actually see the point light in here. Come back to here. This materials tab is basically the same as what we was going through last time. We'll come back to the shading. Change this to this. Actually, no, let me just explain what I just did. Sometimes when you come into the shading tab, or sometimes even when you make a new material, the node material should show up here. If you scroll around and you don't see anything, just press F3. If you're on a laptop, press F3 and just type in find node, and then it will say the material node, and it will bring you back to the node that you're specifically looking for. So here is where you can enter the roughness, and the reason why I've done that is because this materials tab here, some of these surface options is basically the same as this. So even as I move the roughness up, you see it move here. And even if I change this back to the default, where's the principal BFD? This is it. Same with this. Anything that I do change in this will be changed also in this. So whatever works easier for you, definitely go for it. I was going to show you let me just look at my notes. Yes. All right, cool. Next, what we're gonna have a look at, let's put it back to this view so it's easier on my laptop. Let's delete this. I'm gonna show you the basics of animation. Now, animation, you can go super in depth, and literally it can be a 8 to 12 to 20 hour course. on some of the advanced animation stuff that you can do within Blender. But for the purposes of this, pardon me, I'm only going to go through the basics. So with animation, let's bring in a cube. Let's bring in a sphere. And let's bring in a cylinder, so to speak. With animation, you can practically animate anything and everything you have in the scenes, from the color of your lights to the size of things and where things are positioned. So I'll just go through that. I'll go through that now. So the first thing that you will probably see is this timeline. Now, so if you don't see it, which you should see, I think Blender opens up default with your timeline. Yeah, you should see this timeline. Now, just oh yeah, I forgot about this. I'm gonna explain some of these buttons here. This, basically this track here, I believe this is 8 seconds. But yeah, this track here shows you where you are in the timeline. If you want to move this this blue box with this line, you can click and hold, and you can drag it to wherever you want it to be on the timeline. You can also press this play button that plays any animation that you've kind of got going on. You can pause it. I think you can play backwards as well. You can make the timeline start from the beginning. You can make the timeline go through the end. You can get complex with where in the timeline you want your animation to start. So this is on frame. This starts at frame 1. But if you wanted to, for whatever reason, you can make it start on frame 30. Press play, and it will start on frame 30. That's, but we're not going to get into the reasons why you would want to do that. So let's change this back to 1. So let me just delete this. So yeah, on this timeline, if you wanted to animate, let's say the size of this sphere, what we can do is what we can do is we can, let's say for example, we press the S to scale it, to make it smaller, and we want this to go from bigger to smaller. What we can do is, since we made it smaller, we can hover over this scale function here, and if you don't see this, press N on your keyboard and you should see this. And alternatively, if you don't see these functions here, press T on your keyboard and it will toggle between the two. But yes, back to this. So if you wanted to animate the size of this sphere, just hover over where it sees scale and then press I on your keyboard. That inserts a keyframe. Now we can move the timeline along. Let's go to frame 80, and then we can press S to make this bigger, and we can even make it go up. Actually, no, we're not going to play with location. We're just going to play with scale. And we can press on the I key again. Now we've just set a keyframe for when it was at its smallest, and we set a keyframe for when it was at its biggest. So if we wanted to have a look at that, and this is where this becomes quite handy, because if I change this to 90 and then I go to the beginning and I press play, as you can see, it's animating from smallest to biggest. And the reason why I set it at 90 and I didn't leave it at 250 is because if I left it at 250, then the animation will play all the way up into 250, which we don't want. So for the purposes of, if you want to look at specific animations that you're doing to a particular object or objects, then you can play around with where in the timeline you want the playback to be. So we're going to change this back to, let's change it back to 85. So yeah, we just animated we just animated scale. Let's pause this. So press the space bar in order to pause and start your animation. Next, we are going to animate let's animate the location of this one. So with this, we're gonna animate the location. So to animate the location, you see here location. Yeah, I'm going to keep it very basic. I'm not going to go into anything too detailed. So we similar to how we animated the scale for this. As you notice, different objects. As you notice, in the timeline, when you click on one object to another, each object has their own animation or keyframe. So don't be scared is if you've animated an object and you click off it and then your timeline goes to, you see nothing in your timeline. If you want to change anything, if you want to delete anything, let's say to do with anything that you've animated. So for example, you've animated this to get bigger at this speed. If you wanted to make it faster, we can just click on this diamond icon here, press G, move it closer to the first icon, and literally it will get big faster. If you wanted the animation to move slower, you can let's go back to 250. If you wanted to animate it a bit slower, just click on the diamond, press G, move it to where you want it on the timeline, click, so it stays in place here, go to the beginning, press the space bar, and as you can see, it takes longer to get bigger. If you want to delete a keyframe, so let's say for example you didn't like the size of how the final size of which your sphere gets to, then you can just highlight the keyframe, press X, delete keyframe, and let's put this blue pointer here. Let's make this super big. Let's move it to the side a little bit. Actually, let's make it a bit smaller. And then we just press I, and then we're back, as you can see. All right, so let's do location. So similarly to how we did the scale of something, we change the location of something. So if you want to change the location of something, it's two ways you can do it. You can do it through this item menu here, or you can, once you have the object highlighted, you can click on the object here and you can change the you can change where. So let's say we want to, as you can see, whatever number I change here, it changes here as well. So if we wanted to make this go back frame 1, we're just going to hover over what we want to animate or what you want to set a keyframe for, and we can click press the I button, I key, and then we want to go to frame, let's say 180, and then we want to move it on the y-axis only. Click I, press I, and it animates it like so. Let's bring this down to 180. And now if I press the space bar, you can see we have some animation. So if, again, showing you before, if I wanted to make this go to that position faster, I just press the diamond, press G, move it along the timeline, then press the space bar, and it goes to this destination a bit faster. Now, next thing we're going to play with is the rotation. So let's click on the square. So we can make it rotate however we want to make it rotate. So for example, we go to frame 1, we press I on rotation, and then we go to another frame on our timeline. Then we move, let's say we move it like this, move it like this, and move it like this, and then press I. When this goes to yellow, that's when the keyframe has been set. And then, you know what, let's just move this to like here. Now, if we go back to the beginning, press the space bar, as you can see, the square is rotating. And again, you know, if you wanted to make this rotate faster, we could do rotate a bit slower. We could do. Now, you can apply different animation aspects to the same thing. So what I mean by that is, it wouldn't make sense on the sphere. Yeah, let's do the square. So if I wanted to play now with the rotation of the square, I wanted to play with the scale of it and the location. What we're going to do is, this is where sometimes it can be a bit confusing. So you definitely have to keep track of when you're I would say that sometimes I've actually done this when I'm actually creating animations myself. I write down where, I know it sounds a bit funny, but I write down what keyframes or what numbers I've animated certain things on. So for example, with the square, I've said sometimes I'll write, okay, from keyframe 0 to, I think that's 179. Yeah, from keyframes from 0 to 179, sometimes I'll write rotation animation. And you'll see what I mean when we start doing this. So now if I wanted to play the location and I want it to, you know, stay here, and then I press I on location and then move it along, move the timeline along, and then I wanted to move it here, let's say diagonally like here, and then I press I on this location field again, and I press the space bar. As you can see, the square is rotating and moving on its location. Now, I'm gonna add something else now. You don't need to create animations within this light gray field, because this light gray field basically means anything that's in this light gray field is basically active. It is active, not basically, it is active. And what I mean by active is that it will show up when you press play in this viewport. You can, if you wanted to, create animation or set keyframes outside of this. So for example, and this is good for when you actually render something, it will only render anything that's within this highlighted gray area here. So now I'm gonna animate the scale of this. So let's make this really, really small, and then let's press I on scale. Let's make this now really big. Press I and press play. So as you can see, on the one object, we are animating the location, we're animating the rotation, and we're animating the scale. Now when I click back on this box here, as I was saying before, if you're not sure what you set keyframes to on your timeline, sometimes it's good to write it down, especially for at the beginning stage. There are other options within here to where you can actually see and select what you've actually animated. That's in something called the graph editor, but that's something a bit advanced for like this introduction into animation. Also, let's play with some. Let's go back into rendered view. Where's that red coming from? Is that the point light? That's my point light. Okay, cool. Right, you know what? Let's animate this point light. So, as well as animating like location, rotation, and scale, you can animate lights. So, and you can animate the power of the light. So for example, this at the beginning. Let's keep this a red. And then we want to leave it at, animate this. And then we're gonna go to here. And we're going to change the color. So maybe like a green. And then we can hover over what we want to do. We can hover over what we want to animate and press I. Alternatively, you can press this diamond here for some of these options. Sometimes when you come into some of these fields, sometimes you see, where's the diamonds? You wouldn't see it here. But yeah, sometimes you see these diamonds, and this is where you can actually start animating some of this stuff. And then let's play with the power. So let's make it stronger. Let's say 200. Let's make it 250 for example's sake. And then animate that. So now, if we press play, it goes from red, and it gets brighter, and it goes to green. Now, if we wanted to actually render this out, let me go to Eevee because this is a bit more friendly on my computer. So let's play with some of the materials. So what you can do, actually, you know what, I'll explain that a bit afterwards. Actually, I won't explain that now. If you go back into the shader tab, and we now wanted to add some materials to these shapes, we can do so. Let's click on new. Let's click on roughness. Let's make this a bit more smooth. Let's make this a bit more metallic. Let's shade smooth so that you can see some lights. What do I want to do with this square? What can we do with this square? I don't think transmission will work in Eevee. It doesn't really work well in Eevee. Let's leave the roughness. Let's make it metallic. And then let's just shade this smooth. And press the T. Alright, let's menu so that I can, even though I've moved this from here to here, it will go back into its original place because we've actually we've actually assigned keyframes to where this thing should be. I've only moved this here so that I can see what I'm actually changing in it when I go to change the material. I'm going to wait on the shading, the roughness. Let's make this a bit smoother. Let's change the color of this to like a yellow. Let's change this to more like a purple red. Let's change this to something like this. Why does it? It looks funny because we need to do. I think I went through this for my last. There you go. Yeah, I explained that in my last sessions. But just to go over, sometimes when you right click on the object and shade smooth, it shades. It makes every surface smooth, and to preserve the edges in on your mesh, you have to come to this this data tab, come to normals and click on auto shade smooth and leave it at 30. That means that anything that's 30 degrees and below, anything that's 30 degrees and below in terms of our angle won't get shade smooth. If you do shade it smooth, then it just looks like that, and it's just shaded the edges which you don't want, and it doesn't look. If that's the look you're going for, then fine. But if it's not, then click here, and that would fix that. So Now, if we go back to our layout tab, and let's go to our layout tab, and we have to press play. This is how it looks, and we just create a simple animation. If you wanted to as well, and you wanted to change, you know, make this a bit cooler. Let's make this a bit cooler. Select our point, because we're gonna see if we can render this out. Let's change this to 50. Bring this over here. Change this to 300. Let's change this one. Just doing some random stuff at the moment. Yeah, we're just doing some totally random stuff at the moment. Fine. Now we want to try and render. We want to try and render this. So if we come to output, we want to leave it here. Encoding data scene. Let's change this to MP4. Good. I think that's it. Oh, you know what? Something that we didn't do is we didn't actually set the camera position in the right place. So if we want to, so we see everything within this. Where's my camera? Here. That's better. Zoom in here. Let me play that animation so see what it looks like. It'll be okay, fine. Perfect. So now that we've done that, we want to click on render animation. This shouldn't take too long. This should take maybe, let's see how long this takes. Oh, it's rendering. Yeah, this should take probably like 2 minutes to actually render out, because it's taking like, actually no, take a bit longer than 2 minutes, but it shouldn't take too long, because it's taking 5 seconds to render each frame. So you know what, we can actually, let's wait until this gets to maybe, let's say halfway. Let's wait until this gets to 90, and then I'll play the video that we made, the animation that we made. But while we're waiting for that, while we're waiting for that, I can show you how you can customize your Blender, your Blender window. This is a bit tricky. It took me a while to get used to. It took me a lot of banging on the table to get used to. I'm not going to lie. But what you can do, and what I like to do as well, is customize what I'm actually looking at. So if I wanted to view this very scene, but in 2 different angles, so let's say I want one from one side, and I want to view it from another side. What you can do is, and you can customize anything that you see on the screen, but if you hover over the corners, the smooth corners of any of these windows, you should see this like this cross. If you click and hold and move to the right, you create a copy. And if you go into the middle, this direct line in the middle here, you can toggle with the size of each one. The reason why my laptop is taking a little bit of time to like do things is because we're rendering at the same time. So anything, so for people that are going to be doing animations and things like that, please don't make any edits or do what I'm doing now, especially when you have like a big scene, because Blender will crash. And if it crashes and you haven't saved anything, then everything that any progression that you've made will be gone. So this is what I'm doing now is not really recommended on like final projects, but for this purpose, because because we're just doing a demo, we don't really care. But as I was saying, so if I wanted to view the same scene but from different angles, as you can see, I can view it from this side on this window, and I can view it from this side or top down or whatever may have you on this side. One thing that you can also do, and which I like to do if I'm working on a scene, I won't do it fully, but what you can do is this bow and arrow icon, the show gizmo, and this show overlays is another way for you to get close to as render view as possible. And what I mean by that is, if we click on show gizmo and we unhighlight it, it gets rid of this gizmo like you see on this screen, which is not really noticeable. However, if we click the other one, which is show overlay, it gets rid of all the guidelines, all the lines, and what may have you in this window. So this gives you more of a clearer view of how things are positioned, look, and how they're looking without all these lines on the screen. If I wasn't rendering this animation, then I would maybe when this stops and finishes I'll show you. But if I come to here and click on view shading port, you would see what I mean. It gives you close to as rendered view as possible. If you want to go back to the original way that you had it, you go to the corner, you click, you hold, and you move the mouse to the right, and until you see this, until you see this greater than arrow, and then you let go, and then it goes back to how it was before. So to practice, wait until you see this cross, make sure that you're at the corner of the window you want to customize, click, hold, and you can create a split here. I can create another split here. If I wanted to, I can create a split within this as well if I wanted to. So come down and create this corner, create a split here. And so you can get really technical, and it can be confusing depending on what you're doing. See, this is what I was talking about before. Sometimes it can be a bit fiddly when doing it this way, and my laptop is acting super slow because of this render. So we're gonna do that. Let's press escape on that. That's that. Did it stop my window? I think it might have. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, I am on my other screen, I'm going to find this video. I found that where I saved it. Here we go. So this is the animation we created. Because I didn't let it render for longer, You know, it's only 2 seconds, but this is just a basic idea of, you know, creating a simple animation. You know, we changed the materials and things like that. We changed the lighting. As you can see, the red is now that red is now changing from red to, I forgot what color we changed it to, and so forth. Now that's done, I can actually show you what I mean by I'm clicking this. I'm going to one here. So yeah, as you can see, when you untick this, actually you can keep this one, but mainly this show overlays. It gives you more of a closer representation of what you're seeing would look like in rendered view when you actually render it. In Eevee, because it's not really resource intensive, it's easy to move around a scene like so in this type of view. However, if you're in cycles, it's a bit more jittery. Your computer, your laptop or computer has a lot more calculations to do. So when moving around, sometimes it will look a bit foggy or look a bit blurry, and then it takes a while. Hold on. As you can see here, samples. There, that's it. Calculating samples. Until it starts looking like this, and this is your laptop working to actually get it to where it looks, you know, good again. What was that other thing? Hold on, let me just look at my notes. I want to show you one more thing before we end this. That's it. Yes, that's it. I wanted to show you one more thing. It's to do with lighting. So let me, for all those that want to create like more of an outdoor type look, there are multiple ways to do it. I'm not going to show you all the ways because we could be here forever. But let me hide this lighting, and let me delete this. So now in our scene, as you can see, it's pitch black, there's no lighting. Would the sky texture work? If we come here, click on color, the sky texture work in Eevee? Yeah, it does. Okay, fine. Yes, so with this is the, what I did is, I came to the world option, I clicked on this button here, and then I went to, where is it, sky texture, and we can now edit, because this is actual like a, this is like a sky. So if we wanted to, let's say for example, give it more of a sunset type feel, let me just make this a bit smaller, make this a bit bigger. So we can change the size of the sun, we can change the intensity, so let's make this a bit less intense, so let's make it 0.5. You can't really see the difference, so it's 0.2. No, sorry. Let's leave this at 1. It's the set strength here. Let's change to 0.5. That's it. That's what we're going for. Ooh, no. So yeah, we can change the intensity of the sun, because the sun, I believe, is, if you can see, that's the sun there. We can change the elevation. So let's say we wanted to, let's make it what was sunset? I think we made it 1. How does that look? Yes, this is the kind of like the golden hour look. So if you have like a sunset scene, or if you even if you have like an indoor scene but you wanted the kind of sunset golden hour lighting to have an effect on your scene, you can do it like this. Here you can see that it's not really it's quite weak, but if we were to change the strength and change it to, let's say 0.5 is a bit too strong. Let's change it to 0.5. 3. Yeah. As you see, is that you can change the rotation of the sun, so the sun is pointing from this direction. If we wanted to make it point, I think from over here, let's play the rotation. Yeah, so let's make this 90 degrees. It's here. Let's make this 270. That'll make the sun be over here. So yeah, you can do quite a lot. Yeah, you can play with the, let's say, the air. So you know, it gives it kind of that kind of hazy type of look. Dust, similarly, ozone, and you can even play with the altitude as well. So even if we went to like 3,000, this makes the horizon line lower. So basically, you're effectively more higher in the sky, so to speak. There's no even changes. 6,000. Yeah. So this is like if you wanted to create, you know, a scene where you're kind of maybe like in the clouds or something like that. This is where you kind of change the settings with regards to altitude and things of that nature. Yeah, I think you can change the sun size as well, like this. And then let's play with the elevation. Let's make it 30. And this is more like a daytime type feel to it. And I believe this is running the EV. Yeah, this is running the EV. So I'm not sure if this works. Sorry, this is running the cycles. I'm not sure if this runs in EV. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, it does. It's maybe not as detailed, but it does. It definitely does. And it looks pretty cool. Let's change the. As you can see, even though I'm clicking on in this window on different objects, and you don't see them highlighted, you see them highlighted here. And like I said before, if you want to see what you're clicking on in this screen here, I think you click here, and then you can start to see what you're highlighting, and then you can click off. Or alternatively, you can literally come into this window, or you can use this. And if we wanted to render this, let's say we wanted to change the elevation. Oh yeah. Let's bring it down. Let's say to 2. Bring up the strength to 2. And that's extra strong. And we want it to change. Go to 0 again. Come to view. And we wanted to. As you can see, my camera moves even though I'm moving it here. And we wanted to render this shot here. Make you come here and let's move this to the side a bit. Let's change the position a bit in our animation. Let's come out. Let's click off that. This is a good feature, this camera to view. However, sometimes if you forget and you set up your camera in the perfect position, and for me, sometimes pressing 0 again to go back to this view is not what I do. Sometimes if I click off it and then I just move the mouse like I'm swiveling around the object. I think on your mouse, I think if you're using a mouse, like I said in the first session, if you press and hold your roller wheel and you move your mouse, you can toggle around the object like this. So sometimes when I'm in this view and I just move my trackpad, I use my 2 fingers to move left or right. It's just easier for me, just muscle memory. Sometimes I forget that I've had this ticked and then I move my camera, and then sometimes it can be annoying because you have your perfect shot, and to get your shot again, it can be quite irritating. There's something to keep aware of. So let's quickly just render this. Hold on. Move to the side a bit. Let me just make this bigger. Let's change. Something that I didn't mention as well is that as well as Yeah, as well as customizing your layout like this, you can also make these screens show, or these menus show different things. So if you click on this, this icon here in the top with this arrow, if I wanted to go to the shader where you have this shading editor here, let's go to layout, and you can change this from, it is now timeline, and you wanted to change it to shader, you can do here. There are the shortcut keys, so Alt F12. I've never tried this before. Let's try this. Yeah, it works. Oh, this is gonna make my life easier. Learn something new every day. Yeah, so I like the smooth effect. Let's make this as smooth as possible. Let's go back to timeline. And let's change. I kind of like how it looked at that angle. Yeah, I kind of like this. So yeah, let's render this out. Render image. And there you go. You have your rendered image. We also created an animation. Let me get the animation file up again. If we wanted to, we could render the animation with the sky as well, but that's yeah. Well, I don't want to be here for all day, boring you looking at my screen. But yeah, that's what we've done in this beginner session. This is session 2. We've concluded for today. Hopefully you've found this very informative. Any questions? Just go into the Dao Ashe Discord, and yeah, just drop any questions you may have. And if you request, something I can help you with, please let me know. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you soon.